First, I'd like to thank God for waking us up this morning and bringing us here today. I'd like to thank you all for coming out. I'd like to thank Colin and Anne Marie for having me, the DCGT team, and also CreativeMornings for having us here today. I also like to acknowledge my father. He's here to support me, Deon Sr. over there, and I think I covered everything. Yeah. So first, I'll brief about myself, and then I'll get to the class stuff. So, all right. All right, so my name is Deon Mixon, junior. I'm 24 years old. I am a graphic designer, author, and poet. I was born and raised in Detroit. Grew up on the east side. First in the medical city courts, right here over Canfield and Lothian. Then I grew up in my childhood home. I was here in East Side in Van Dyke, and later lived on 8 miles in Gratiot, Kelly. I graduated from Spain Elementary Middle School, where I became a Labour Free Scholar. Graduated from Cass Tech, where I became a salutatorian and one of the few Bill-based Millennium Scholars of that year, 2013. And I am a recent graduate at Western Michigan University, where I graduated from my BFA in graphic design. My work experience includes me living in New York for 9 months, from late July 2017 to April 2018. I worked at Landor, we're a big design agency that specializes in corporate identity branding. I've also worked at Airbuilding Company, another design studio, a smaller studio that specializes in packaging design. Came back home in April 2018, pretty much mainly because I ran out of money. I was running out of money and didn't get another job at times. And God blessed me with my job at Gyro, it's another design studio in Detroit. We specialize in branding as well. I'm all into brand identity. It's my favorite type of design field. Back in print design, but identity work is my main passion. All right, so I'll get into class. So in 2017, I presented my design thesis at Western titled In Detroit, in which I decided to redesign a flag in Detroit, Michigan. The idea came from being inspired by a TED Talk by design guru Roman Mars. This TED Talk happened in 2015, and Roman talked about how there is an abundance of poorly designed US city flags. And he said this: there's a scourge of bad flags, and they must be stopped. He also brought up Milwaukee designer Steve Kotis, who initiated the movement to redesign the Milwaukee flag. Steve Kotis said this: I believe Milwaukee is a great city. Every great city deserves a great flag. That was the golden statement that fulfilled my motivation to think this. I believe Detroit is a great city. Detroit deserves a great flag. So along with that reason, the 3 reasons of why I did this was: 1, the current flag is poorly designed. A lot of Detroiters, as prideful as we are of our city, don't know we have a flag. Even city council members didn't know we had a flag, and I think that's utterly unacceptable. 3, Detroit is renovating like never before, and I figured it would be a nice cherry on top to that resurrection happening before our eyes. I want to start off with the founder of the modern era of flag design, Whitney Smith. He's a guy from Massachusetts who in 1958 coined the term vexillology, which is the study of flags. In 1960, he designed the flag of Guyana, which is a country in northeastern South America. And his design was adopted by Guyana in 1966, and they didn't know that Whitney Smith was a white guy, considering South Americans. In 1967, previously he founded various flag organizations, and in 1967 he founded the North American Vexillological Association, otherwise known as NAVA. In 2004, NAVA did a survey on 150 U.S. city flags, ranking them from 0 to 10, 0 being the worst, 10 being the best, on how well their designs were. In the left of Central College, you'll see that the top 5 flag designs were the flag of Washington, D.C., Chicago, Illinois, Denver, Colorado, Phoenix, Arizona, and St. Louis, Missouri. Scroll down that survey, you'll see that Detroit is ranked 71 out of 150 with a score of 4.17. Ted Kay is a flag expert who works for NAVA as a secretary. He, in 2006, came up with the book about flag design called Good Flag, Bad Flag, How to Design a Great Flag. And this book details the 5 basic principles of making a great flag. The first principle being keep it simple, so simple that a child should be able to draw from memory. The second principle is use meaningful symbolism. 3, use 2 to 3 basic colors. 4, no lettering or seals, because you can't read them from a distance. And seals are meant to be on official documents. Even if you did put lettering or seals on a flag, if you're on the opposite side of the flag, it'll be backwards, because flags are reversible. And 5, be distinctive or be related. I also like to mention this quote, which is in that book. This was said by the National Flag Committee of the Confederate States of America in 1861. They said a flag should be simple, readily made, and capable of being made up in bunting. It should be different from the flag of any other country, place, or people. It should be significant. It should be well contrasted and durable. And lastly, and not the least important point, it should be effective and handsome. Yes. So, well, all jokes aside, the designer of the current Detroit flag is actually a great man. His name is David Hyman. He's a Jewish Detroiter whose family came from Hamburg. In 1907, he designed the Detroit flag, and he wasn't adopted until 13 years after his death in 1948. The city council and the mayor at the time were responsible for approving his design. He was a lawyer, alderman, and city controller who did a lot for the city of Detroit growing up here. And it made sense for him to design the flag in that manner because that was the history of Detroit then. So it's all about context. You can find this information in the archives of the Michigan Jewish History, or just Google David Hyman flag design, and this PDF will pop up. You can read all about it there.
The aliasing on that flag is terrible.
I'll just do this. Alright, so I'll break down the current flag. In case no one knows. So in the current flag of Detroit, in the bottom left quadrant represents the French founding of Detroit. Specifically, Antoine Cadillac is a French explorer. He founded Detroit in 1701. During the French and Indian War, the British took control of the city in 1760. That's the top right corner. Top left corner represents the U.S. taking control of the city shortly after the American Revolutionary War. And then there was the war of 1812, where British took control and the Americans had to get back. And then in 1827, the city seal was adopted along with the city motto. The city seal was designed by an American painter named James Otto Lewis. And the motto was penned by a French priest by the name of Gabriel Richard, which is, well, the motto is, "We hope for better things will rise from the ashes." The seal commemorates the fire of 1805 that burned down the city, and many of the residents, who I'm sure were slaves, Native Americans, and Frenchmen, went to the river, got water, buckets of water, and took out the fire to save the city. I'm going to dive into my sketches and my research. Some of my research is in another presentation, but here I just want to look into the sketches that I came to when looking at all of this information. So I started off with looking at those 5 principles and looking at notes about Detroit history, looking at other cities and how they do their designs, looking at different symbols, different types of stars and shapes. And then me being an identity designer, I couldn't help myself thinking about logo design and how logos can embody a company or a brand. And I know that, well, through my research, I found that Detroit is a very sports-prideful city. And I thought about these 2 logos, the MLB logo and the NBA logo, and how they use the subject to represent the subject. So in the MLB, they're using a baseball player, MLB for baseball, and of course a basketball player for the NBA. But notice that they have this, red, white, and blue color palette because America. But then in the negative space is that subject. And that was the main detail that I used to come up to my design. Conceptually, well, because of that, thinking about the subject, Detroit, well, what does Detroit mean? Detroit comes from the French détroit, which means the strait. And that was corresponded by X by Cadillac. And then when the bigger shark came up with the city motto, he said we look for better things that will rise from the ashes. And when I looked at the river, the geography of Detroit, it looked like a rising form. So I connected those two together. Wrote those sketches digitally. Originally, I was thinking in the whole red, white, and blue palette, but with the dialogue from my colleagues and my professors, they thought I should explore more colors. I did surveys, asking friends, what colors come to mind when you think of Detroit. So again, looking at different ways to symbolize Detroit, thinking about the numbers 3, 1, and 3, 7, and different types of stars, shapes, deltoids, that kind of thing. But I was really attracted and attached to that original sketch that I did. And then looking at blues. So looking at Detroit Lions blue, the Tigers, navy blue, blues of other flags, the Estonian flag, the Chicago flag, and the blue I came to a blue that is richer, more fresh and clean, that feels contemporary. So now I'll break down my design. So black represents resilience. I believe black is the best color to represent our resilience, our resourcefulness, our strength, and our attitude. And then white is for righteousness. The same reason we associate white with purity. Now some people want to bring up race, and that was not a motivator behind this because humans contributed to what Detroit is today. But if you want to bring up race, I'll bring up color theory. Black is the absence of all colors, and white is the presence of all colors. So these two colors balance each other out. Blue is for progression. Blue is also associated with the city skyline. When you think of San Francisco, what colors come to mind? Reds and color temperature warms. When I think of Detroit, I think of cool colors. And I think blue, it pops up throughout the city. The GM, there's paintings about world peace, black, white, and blue on Grand River and Rosa Parks. So this is just a lot of blue that pops up in the city. And I also thought about blue collar versus white collar. We're a very hardworking city. So things of that nature. The star itself actually represents Detroit geographically in relation to the river. And the points of the star represent the city's most successful industries. So the auto industry, music, art and design, life science or medicine, and high technology. I want to point out design because that's a very special one. Detroit is the only U.S. city to be designated as a city of design by the United Nations. Specifically, UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. And we're the only one to have that honor. I think that was we were designated in 2015. Then finally, the main element is the river, the rise, which symbolizes where we were named after, the river, and also the city motto, rising from the ashes. Excuse me. So I want to bring up those principles again and see how well these two match up against those principles. As you can see, the current Detroit flag is not simple. There's too much going on. There's too many elements. I don't think any child will be able to draw that from memory. The seal is on there, and it is distinctive compared to other U.S. flags. We have seals on there. We use red, white, and blue already. But I don't think those quadrants, the whole European colonialism really resonates with us. And it isn't as unique because there are many other cities founded by the French that was then taken over by the Americans. And then you use three basic colors. There's already red, white, and blue, and like 17 other colors in the seal. So as a summary, the current flag primarily represents European colonialism, which is the entire country. And my flag represents what I believe to be the spirit of Detroit, resilience. We've actually lived up to the city motto, rising from what we've been through, all of these struggles, and looking ahead toward a better future and toward the better things that we hope for and will attain and are attaining right now. So I call this the Detroit Rise after the city motto. So here is the picture in my opinion. Some mock-ups. I wrote an entire booklet explaining my argument. It's here on this table. If you get a chance, please check it out. I talk about the history of Detroit, appreciate the current flag and delve into my design. And then also thinking about how this design could fit certain proportions. How it can be able to flex. What it will look like in the city. On billboards. And over the past 2 years, gotten supporters from far and close, far and near. Last year I did a walk of State Representative Sherry Gay Nago. Started at the Spirit of Detroit statue. And we walked 13 miles north on Grand River. I flew a flag for the first time that day. That was July 24th, Detroit's birthday last year. I presented to the City Council twice. The first was at a community meeting in Southwest Detroit, late June 28, 2017. And then in September 6, 2018, my father, my godmother, and some supporters came for me to present to them again. And they told me they had no idea what the process would be. They'll get back to me in 2 weeks. I waited 2 weeks and nothing happened. I emailed them once a month. And then 9 months later, they said, yeah, we're not trying to change it right now. Like, okay, that's not going to stop me. I would look like on a shirt. So a lot of people, they just slapped the flag design on the shirt. But I designed it to the shirt. So that's, from a design perspective, that's good design. It isn't good design simply because you're able to put something on a shirt. It's screen printed. These shirts are actually cut and sewn together. So that just shows you the value of what this design could be in a tangible form. These are recent images. Wednesday was Detroit's birthday, so I'm celebrating Detroit's birth week. Going out to campus marches and to the Riverwalk to get people to hear about this, and get their signatures, get the support, and to get them to share the word. And of course, passing the flag on to the other citizens. And I want to leave you all with this. In the beginning was the straight river, and the straight was here for the people. And now the straight is the people.